to week one of the Risen Esports Rampage Open, and we have the privilege of casting tonight for you guys 200 Thieves Open, and versus Obsidian Horizon. Tonight you have me, Frez, as I will be your color caster tonight, and I am joined alongside with Caddy, our streamer, and Josie. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm going by Goldline now, but yeah, some of you might know me as Josie. I'll be the play-by-play today, and excited to be here. It's gonna be my first one, so if I suck a little bit, I apologize.
I'm sure you'll do just fine, and we have a really good match coming in so far. Both of these teams have yet to play with each other or against each other in a competitive environment, and tonight we will have the privilege of seeing them fighting against each other firsthand. So looking at these two teams right now, we have a little bit of stats for you guys. So it looks like we're going to see a little bit of a tanky side in the top lane. We see both teams seeing a little bit of Scions being played, some Poppies, Shens, as well as in the jungle as well. It looks like both of these teams really like to play the more conservative side. But when we look at 200 Thieves in the jungle, we see that a lot of carry junglers. We see Elise, we see Kha'Zix, Leeson, Nidalee, Rek'Sai. A lot of these S+ tier junglers right now that weren't actually very good a few patches ago. Like Elise wasn't very good until more recent patches. Same with Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai got some really nice buffs. So we're probably going to see some very interesting things right now, as the last couple of patches have shaken up the meta a lot.
Definitely. So, and you gotta wonder if they practice on these champions or if they've just been playing it because that's the thing to do right now. But I think both of these teams are going to be looking to go pretty late with their comps, so these might be some slow, methodical team fight matches, but we're going to see what they want to pull out today.
Yes, I could not agree more. Another thing I've noticed is that both teams tend to go for more wave cleary champions, as you mentioned, trying to play towards the late game, try to stall out the game. Like we see these champions like Sivir, Vladimir, a lot of these champions that are very safe and that are able to get to their 3-item power spikes and get into those 30-40 minute games that'll by default win the game. So as both teams are prepping for pro draft right now, we're gonna see what happens. I'm really interested to see, because normally we have a little bit of match history or other stuff in Risen Esports to go off of, make some early predictions, but this is the first game of the season, so I am really, really interested to see what happens here.
Certainly, and we are starting out with the bans now. It looks like both teams actually are going through pretty effectively. They're knocking out the first few bans very quickly. They know exactly what they want to target, but let's see what they want to pick.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I noticed going through that pro draft right there is that they were not hesitating with their bans whatsoever. They were going so quick, bada bing, bada boom. Jarvan locked in, Lulu locked in, Ahri locked in. Like, they weren't even hesitating. They weren't even dedicating their bans based off of the other bans. They went into this draft with a plan. They knew exactly who they wanted to target. They knew exactly what they wanted to ban, and they did not change that based off of each other's bans. So looking at what we got so far, we see a lot of carries banned on Horizon side. We see like the Vladimir, the LeBlanc, because we do see that Hyman Buster does play that quite a bit. He has a 71% win rate on Vladimir in 17 games, which is actually incredible considering that Vladimir only has just above a 50% win rate right now. Even though he has a 30% ban rate. So that just goes to show you he's really annoying to deal with. Not a lot of people like to play against him, and he can be a threat, a big threat towards the other team.
Definitely, and that's probably a very good ban on their part, just due to the fact that both these teams look like they want to go late. Even right now, they've gotten some good team fight meatball champions that want to go on the mid game. You don't want Vladimir when it comes to late game team fighting, so that's definitely a good target on their side. Both jungles and bot lanes have been picked so far. The good old lovers duo in the bot lane for 200 Thieves, and then Obsidian is going for the really strong level 2 bot lane with Galio Lucian, so it could get really spicy early in the bot lane.
Yes, and this is exactly what I was talking about as far as the last couple of patches shaking up the meta. Skarner. Skarner was not a pick that you saw a couple of months ago. Skarner, if you mentioned Skarner to a new player, they would be like, who? Because they had no clue what this champion was, even if it existed. But recently, in some of the patches that we've seen, Skarner got some really nice buffs, particularly to Skarner's passive, which I'm sure is the shards that spawn in the jungle that you got to try to take control over. And basically, what changed was their number one, it's a little bit of a quality of life thing. You no longer see Skarner's shards on the minimap anymore, so you can't easily just glance over, see, okay, which ones does Skarner have right now? Did he just take this one? Okay, it's very clear that he's right there. No, like you actually have to look around into the jungle and you have to look for the color of the shards to see which ones are taken control of by which teams. And another thing about those is that when Skarner is actually fighting in those zones, the power that he used to get was actually doubled. So before he would get a little bit of attack speed, mana regen bonus, that kind of thing. But now that's whatever bonus that was a few patches ago is actually doubled. And that's why he's such a threatenable pick right now.
Exactly. You don't want to find the Skarner when he's on top of one of his pillars right now. Another thing about the pillars that's been changed is the locations in the jungles. He is now able to hit every single camp while standing on the pillar, so his clear has gotten so much better.
Yes.
So while Vi's going to be looking to, affect lanes early with how strong her level 2, level 3 is, Skarner's going to be right on her tails wanting to go get her. And so it's going to get really interesting in the jungle as well.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Vi is one of these champions that in every single one of my solo queue games, she's auto-banned for me. I cannot stand her. She's so oppressive in the early game because I like to play these carry junglers like Kha'Zix, like Kayn. And Vi, she completely shuts these down. And on top of that, she's also really good at bullying tanks early on, like Skarner, for example, because she has so much early game damage and just so much base damage that she's able to completely bully other junglers out of their camps. And on top of that, in the late game, if she builds like damage, like she gets her, whether it's lethality with Black Cleaver or even a Triforce sometimes, she can just absolutely destroy someone in a 1v1 or a 2v1, not to mention how useful her R is going to be in team fights, especially with that Galio, because all Vi has to do is press R on that Xayah, on that Corki, whoever, and then Galio can instantly follow up, and then what do you know, Sion's going to follow in, Xerath is going to follow in, Lucian's going to be taking out the front line. It's just going to be incredible. They have such a good engage on Obsidian Horizon.
Exactly. That's one of the things you really want to see with the team comp is how easy is it to execute. It's really hard to mess up Vi Galio combo, and like if Xerath misses a shot at that point, they're going to have a talk about that. Though on 200 Thieves side, they've got a really strong team comp also, because we know Vi is going to try and come in on that. Skarner can just hit the R button and say no fun allowed and pull her right away from his carries. And then Poppy, with her disengage, they're actually going to be looking to say, no, we decide when we want a team fight, not you.
Yes, I'm glad we're on the same page there, because as I was just looking, 200 Thieves, just look at the disengage they have on that team. Corki has his package, Poppy has his W, and she has so much peel to keep Vi and Lucian and Sion and Galio, to keep them away from their carries. Skarner has his ultimate ability, or Rakan and Xayah. They're just such a safe duo. It's really just going to come down this game to, can Obsidian Horizon get their engage the way they want to, or is 200 Thieves going to be able to disengage those fights, burn their ultimates, and then turn around that fight?
Exactly. And one thing, this is definitely a comp that, while Obsidian has really strong team comp, they are going to want to do it sooner than 200 Thieves, because as the games go on, you don't want to be dealing with two marksmen shutting down your frontline tank. Because even as beefy as San gets, 280 carries can shut that down pretty fast.
Yes, Xayah is definitely going to be putting a lot more DPS in 5v5 team fights, whereas Lucian is probably going, Lucian has a lot more outplay potential if Xayah doesn't have her ultimate, for example, because if he's able to dash and dodge to those feathers when Xayah tries to pull them in, then he's very easily going to be able to take out that Xayah if Xayah is alone. That being said, I do agree with you. Obsidian Horizon definitely has much more of a mid-game composition with the Lucian, the Vi, and the Xerath. And they really have to try to use that to their advantage, because if they let this game go on for too long, that Poppy, that Skarner, that Rakan, they are not going to let Obsidian Horizon even go near that Corki or that Xayah.
Exactly. Yeah, it could get very spicy. So I would say, though, Draft wise, I'd say both teams got looks like exactly what they wanted to do with what they're wanting, with their ideas or their focus with how their drafts are. It's just going to come down to what team's actually going to execute on their goals.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think both teams did a very good job at drafting these two different compositions, but it's just going to come down to which team is going to be able to execute it better. And it's also comes down to the fact that I wonder how much practice both of these teams have had, because as we mentioned earlier, this is week 1 of Risen Esports Rampage Open League. So none of these teams have actually played an official match together before, maybe some scrims against a couple of teams or even some flex queue games. So it's going to be really interesting to see how both of these teams communicate and try to pull this off.
Exactly. The first game always sets your tone. So, they don't want to start off on a bad foot. And, you might be able to get a good game, but you always want to start with a win, not with a loss. So that's going to be a big impact.
All right. So, as both of these teams are hopping into their game, they're just starting it now. We'll be back in a couple of minutes right after this brief spectator delay, and we will bring you game 1. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are hopping into game 1 of Rampage Open Week 1. We bring you 200 Thieves versus Obsidian Horizon. We're loading in right now. The spectator delay is finishing up. So, Josie, what exactly do you expect to see in this game?
What I think is going to want to happen early is the teams are going to help Vi get control of the early jungle. She's going to want to make use of her advantage in the early levels versus a Skarner while he gets a full clear and gets his Predator up and running. Looks like he's running, and she is running the Aftershock, so she's going to want to make full use of hitting someone hard early, but her teams have got to help her set that up because she doesn't want to find that Skarner 1v1 in the jungle, especially if he has a pillar control.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Typically what we see is both of these teams going for that line of scrimmage early. They don't want to take many chances. Like invading in 5v5 play is really risky because usually both teams have that communication and they're normally prepared for situations like that. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yep, and already we got Xerath trying to get a little poke in, but Corky's right there to back up his team to poke him back. They're going to want this. Looks like they actually want the pillar. I'm not sure why, because the pillar doesn't matter right at the very start there, but it's always nice to have that little bit of control to start.
Yep, I could not agree more. And as we mentioned before, we see the Skarner Shrines. Both teams are definitely already trying to get early control of them because they're really, really important to Skarner's early clears as they give him those buffs. Because if he does not have control of those, if there is a skirmish, let's say in the top river or in the bottom river or something like that, it's going to be really difficult for him to try to contest those objectives like those scuttle crabs if he doesn't have the extra bonuses nearby, if in case a fight were to chase into the jungle.
Interesting start we see. Both jungles are starting top side, so they both are kind of how we were talking about in the draft. Is this could be very bot lane focused if they can get a hold of the bully that Obsidian is wanting to get it started. Looks like Skarner wants to start top side as well to actually make sure that that can't happen to his bot lane.
Yeah, and another thing I would like to notice is that as far as focusing laners, you mentioned both junglers wanting to focus the bot lanes, and this I could not agree more. I think that focusing top side in these matchups isn't that effective due to the fact that if you're getting a kill in the top lane, number one, it would be really, really hard because both of the champions are tanky, right? And they're able to keep themselves alive. But if you're doing that, what exactly are you doing for your team? You could get Poppy ahead, you could get Cyan ahead, sure. Your jungler's ahead. That's not really the priority in both of these team comps. In these teams, you want to try to get the mid lane and the bot lane snowballing on top of each other so that they're able to completely take over a game, because you're not going to have our top laners taking over games like Lucian or like Corki or Xerath or like Zion Rakan would be able to, because they're much more snowbally champions. So I definitely agree with both the Skarn and the Vi on starting topside here, because typically what you want to do, you want to clear your jungles, you want to hit level 3, and then you want to gank lane immediately. Try to get those lanes ahead.
Definitely, yeah. Because the top lane, Poppy's gonna have the advantage, but it's not gonna be so much that Sion can't handle. Sion, he's gonna scale. Like, you know what, Sion can have a bad lane and he's gonna be useful for it no matter what. But if Lucian falls behind on the Xayah, actually, as soon as I say that Poppy is beating up on Sion big time so far. He's already having a little bit of a rough time there.
Yeah, and that matchup, it definitely goes a little more towards Poppy's way, I find. I've played the matchup a little bit on both sides. Not more in recent patches, but in previous. And from what I found is that Sion really has a hard time trying to go for engages on Poppy, because if he wants to start charging his Q, all Poppy has to do is E into the Sion. He completely knocks off his Q, and Sion would have to restart it. And at that point, she would probably have pinned him into a wall like we just saw, slam that Q down, get that auto attack passive going, and then she just gets out with an easy trade. So,
and plus Sion's wave clear has been nerfed pretty hard in the past few patches, so you know he's not going to be able to keep up with Poppy as much there either. So we're going to be able to see how he controls that.
Yes, it appears that Riot has been paying attention to the community's requests. Nerf Sion, because as you mentioned, even to this patch, if Sion has a bad lane and you can punish him as much as you want early, guess what? It doesn't matter. He's still Sion. He's still going to be tanky.
Exactly. Right now, yeah, both teams are both working on getting their poke in at the moment. Xerath is going to have the range advantage on Corki in the mid lane, so hopefully Xerath can use that to bully and get the mid control, which will then help enable Vi a lot more also.
Yes, completely. And so far, we haven't exactly seen a lot of action coming from our junglers. It looks like both of them are just going for power clearing. We saw Skarner completely clear all 3 camps in his top side, proceeding to clear all 3 camps in his bot side. And I really respect that, because he's not trying to greed for any early ganks. He's not trying to start anything up. He knows that he's not really going to be that useful, especially not having boots. We see that Skarner took Predator this game, so that's really going to make him impactful. But it's really important for him, a little bit more than Vi, so that he can actually get level 6, so that he's able to use his ultimate early on. And look at what we got going on up here.
Like I say, the jungle, they're getting ready to get at it, but Vi is actually the one to run away from that fight, which is something you probably don't want to see this early. But in bot lane, they're going hard at it for the 2v2. They almost got Rakan, but he slipped away just barely.
Yeah, so the Galio Ignite burn, it looks like that Rakan took a little more damage in that trade. But that being said, they did not get a kill out of it, and Galio no longer... Oh, wait a second.
Galio's again, he's knocked him up, and that should be a kill. Okay, Lucian flashed in and got it, and he's going to get out nice and safe. Oh, but Xayah
is not done, and Skarner's here.
Skarner was not going to have any of that. Like, as soon as he saw that his bot lane was in trouble, he came right down there for it.
Oh, but here comes Dragons Only. She's trying to make a response up into the top lane right now.
Sion got that huge. Oh, he got that auto right before she flashed. That feels bad for the Poppy, but that was a really good setup by Sion to get that ready for Vi.
Yes, flash for flash, burn in the top lane. And I wonder if these junglers are going to pay attention to that. We saw the Galio burn flash down in the bot lane, as well as the Lucian. So Skirner is probably going to try to get another kill down there once he hits level 6, because we just saw Xayah pick up a pair of kills. She got a kill for herself and got a kill for the Skirner as well down in the bot lane. It looked like a really good start for Sorax and Dante Infinity. But as we saw, Xayah was just able to completely turn around that fight because they focused Rakan early, and Xayah was still pretty healthy during that fight, so she was able to completely turn that around because she was already prioritizing the ADC. And then we saw Brick Burner come down and Skarner and just clean up that fight. So now we're sitting at 2-2 right now, and they're also able to pick up an Ocean Drake off that fight because they noticed that Vi was in the top lane ganking the Poppy.
Yeah, it's really good. Whenever something's happening on one side of the map, you gotta hope your team's doing something on the other side of the map. And that was really good communication, though, by the Xayah, because, you know, at first it was looking a little questionable, but she knew she had her jungler to back her up. Though, looking forward, Skarner should hope to come back down here, because bot lane on 100 Thieves side, on 200 Thieves side, there's two of them. They have a lot more summoner spells, while the bot lane on Obsidian has nothing to play with.
Yes, and something I want to draw our attention to is look at the vision on the bot side of the map. The only vision that Obsidian actually has right now is the Vi in the jungle. And as they're going up there, as I say that, of course, they're starting to clear up the vision down there. I really would have liked to see Skarner kind of stick around and not quite recall right there, because he just hit 6, which is a really important power spike for Skarner. Even if he didn't get a kill off of it, it would have been really important there for him to go in there. He had his flash up, he had his Predator. All he had to do was probably just go in there and just frame them. Because we saw earlier in the last fight, Dante Infinity and Sora, they don't have any of their summoners available to them because they burned their flashes in the last fight. And not to mention, they actually had complete vision down the bot side. The red team did not have any vision in the river. They didn't have any vision in the Tribush, as we saw the pink down from the blue side. So that could have been a really missed opportunity right there.
Exactly. It is definitely a little strange, but you never know. Maybe Skarner wants to do a second full clear of his camp. He is doing clearing his top side again, so maybe he wants to slowly make his way back to bot lane. But Vi's already looking to do something bot lane, so let's see if they actually can pull him forward to actually get her a free chance to actually get some gold going for her.
Yes, she is level 6, and she has that ward. She's got a control ward in that bush as well. So, and look at this. We see Dusk Edge on Xerath. He's roaming down as well. They're not sure what they want to do yet. It looks like they're just going to back off.
Oh, but he is about to walk into some danger. Oh, no, he decided to change his mind. He took the safe route back to his mid lane. It could have been really ugly, though.
Yeah, it looks like both of these teams, as we mentioned before, they're trying to stall out towards their later power spikes in the game. We talked about earlier how Obsidian Horizon, they want to try to focus more of their damage in the mid game and try to get those mid game fights going so they're able to completely take over the game. Look at this going on down here.
Quart is going in hard with his ult flash, and there's Skarner. He is back, but they weren't quite on the same page, but they did get the suppression down on Galio and able to get the kill. But so it was a little ugly, but they were able to get it pulled off.
Yeah, but you see, that's exactly what I was talking about. They didn't have any of their flashes available, and oh my goodness, Blitchers is just going to completely decimate Dante Infinity there, and Vi's going to end up showing in the bot lane.
Exactly, just giving a little support to her AD carry so that he can get back safely, it looks like. But, you know, this lane that's supposed to be going hard for Lucian and Galio is definitely not going that way right now.
Yeah, early game, you definitely expect Lucian to be a little bit more oppressive, but that just goes to show you how oppressive the Xayah-Rakan duo can be, because even though Xayah is a lot more powerful in the late game than she is in the early game, having Rakan in that lane with her, they were literally meant to be for each other. That's how they were designed, and they're so good with each other because Rakan is just able to completely get Xayah out of these bad situations, and as well make some really good plays on top of the Lucian and the Galio as well, and that's exactly what they did there, and Skarner was just there to make it all come true.
Exactly. Skarner's already finished his jungle line of the Cinderhulk. He is feeling really good about what he's at, but he's here to countergank the Vi. Oh, Vi's going in with the Galio helping, but Skarner's here to say, nope, this is my mid lane.
Yes, we saw a flash burn on the Skrunner there. I do appreciate the effort from the Galio there. I think that was definitely a good play. The wave in the bot lane wasn't pushed in, so he definitely had the opportunity to roam towards mid lane. Both flashes burn from the Corki
They
and the
went right
Skrunner.
back bot lane though, and Vi went for the flash knockup, missed it, but they got the taunt onto Xayah and just destroyed her. But the teleport is coming in from Corki and Poppy. They both came in and just destroyed Galio.
Yes, I do not think Obsidian Horizon is going to be happy with the outcome of that. But look at this. They're not done. They don't want to stop fighting.
They're still going. And then Xerath is not where he wants to be right now.
Is this solo queue or is this 5v5 right now? Because what I'm seeing is a lot of fighting there. We saw a really good engage made by Obsidian Horizon. I think that was a great play. But as we mentioned before, they don't exactly have the disengage that 200 Thieves has available towards them. We saw earlier how, or we talked about earlier how the Skarner, the Poppy, the Rakan, like they have both the engage and the disengage, so they're going to be able to play safe and play for the late game. Where on Obsidian Horizon we have a lot of engage, but it's going to be a lot harder for them to try to return around fights a third time, as we saw right there.
Exactly, and also with a play like that, like 200 Thieves, it wants the late game. Obsidian wants the mid game, but with the big amount of gold that's going over to 200 Thieves, they're really happy what's going on. But the bot lane is still going. Oh, they were so close to getting to Xayah, but she hits her get out of jail free card, and she is okay.
Yes, that was an incredible feather storm by the Xayah right there. It looked like Dante Infinity was about to pick up a free kill on the Xayah. Really good play there, but this is exactly what I literally just finished saying. They have so much disengaged there. The Rakan, the Xayah ultimate, just was able to completely get out of that fight for free.
Exactly, and Skarner has now found Vi at his herald, and he's like, thank you for the leash, this is going to be mine now, thank you. Oh, and Vi got caught with her indecision and thought about getting out of the pit, but she didn't, and Poppy said, you're staying right here.
And so now Xerath is going to end up burning his flash. Oh, but Corki is the package.
This is not looking too good for Obsidian this first game.
Yeah, it seems like there's a little bit of miscommunication right there. I'm a little bit questioned on the shot call there for the Rift Herald. We saw that they didn't exactly have any of the lane priorities, as Corki was able to get there a lot quicker because he had the package available to him, and Poppy had that river pink. She had that priority over the Scion as well. So interesting. I'm not sure if they knew that they had, or that 200 Thieves had no vision in the top river, but it's just I'm not sure why they decided to go for the Rift Herald. It's 13 minutes into the game. You have your camps available for you on the top side and the bot side, aside from the blue buff. So there's a lot more that you could have done there, aside from forcing Rift Herald.
Exactly. I feel like it's kind of a panic play. Like, you know, they just took the second Drake. You know, their bot lane is getting pushed in. It's not going the way they wanted to. So Vi just wanted to make something happen. Unfortunately, you can't just rush in there when Skarner is having such a big lead on you. You're not going to have a fun time in that matchup.
Yes, another thing I really want to touch up on is the amount of map pressure that 200 Thieves is having right now. We see Corki, and both Corki and Poppy, they're not afraid to use their teleports to respond on the map. Corki has his package. He's able to get around the map really quickly, and Poppy is constantly having priority over her waves in the top lane to keep Scion under his tower in his side of the lane so that Poppy is able to respond to plays like that.
Exactly, and also that was a really good teleport, the fact that Poppy was willing to use it, but then Scion didn't. Like, yeah, Scion got some turret plate gold out of that, but like we talked about, this isn't about the top lane in this game. So Poppy kind of sacrificed a little bit of her CS, but got her bot lane even farther ahead, while Scion has a small lead now, but what's he going to do with it?
Yeah, and so now at this point, if I'm Obsidian Horizon, I got to start thinking, okay guys, we need to find a way to get back in this game, because if it keeps going the way it's going right now, we're going to lose this game before they even get to their win condition, because not only is our win condition to punish them early and to win this game before 30 minutes, but on top of that, we're losing right now. And look at this.
Yep, and Skarner, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to give the lead back to my top lane. Oh, but he says cowards and he runs away.
And that's something that's really flexible about Scion and why he's so good in the top lane, because when he hits 6, he can use his ultimate to... Oh wait a second.
Goodness.
Here.
bot lane just like, you know what? We're tired of losing this matchup. They just taunted Rakan. That's one thing Rakan has a bad time with Galio. When he wants to charge in, Galio can't just say no.
Exactly. Rakan can just go in there, and Galio, he's got so much CC with his E. He could charge up a taunt with his W as well. That's part of why he's starting to become so good down in the bottom lane, because in previous patches, his damage was so good, but recently that got nerfed. So now he still has a lot of utility built in his kit, right? He's got his taunt, he's got his knockup, he's got his ultimate, which is arguably one of the best knockups, or not knockups, one of the best ultimates in the game as far as map control.
Certainly, and but double flashes burned in the bot lane for Skarner and the Galio. That was a really good flash on their time. Didn't really need to burn the heal there, but Begacy wanted to make sure his support got out safe. But now, Obsidian was looking to collapse on that, but they decided not to pull the trigger, even though they probably had a good chance to get on him there.
Yes, and as I mentioned before, Obsidian Horizon, they got to start looking for ways back in this game. One of the ways that they could have got back in the game was getting that first tower. We just saw that fall mid lane in favor of 200 Thieves. So right now, they're going to start trying to get this Ocean Drake, and I think they're just going to be able to pick it up for free, as Skarner is actually, no, it looks, okay, yeah, they're going to get it anyways, but it looks like that Skarner was just going to back off there. And that Ocean Drake is huge, because not only do they have the same amount of Ocean Drakes as 200 Thieves do, but in the later parts of the game, when that Corki is going to have his fire cannon and he's going to have his ultimate really maxed when he hits level 16, he's going to be doing a lot of poke with his long range. And not to mention that Obsidian Horizon, they have that Lucian, they have that Xerath, who's also going to be doing tons of poke. So denying 200 Thieves that Ocean Drake is actually going to be huge for them for the long run.
Exactly, like they already let one Ocean Drake go over to 200 Thieves. You don't want to give both of those. And also the mana regen is really good for Xerath. He can just sit there longer and try and poke them out. And so you never know, if he can soften up a fight before it happens, that could be huge for getting Obsidian back into the game.
Yes, I could not agree more. It's times like this. They know that Skarner is down there in the bot lane right now. They had that pink ward in the river. So if Vi didn't try forcing that Rift Herald earlier, now would have been a really good time to try to just go up there and take you right now, because all she would have had to do, sweep around the pit. They know that she knows that she's not there, and then she's just able to take that Rift Tail for free because they see Skarner on the bot side right now, and she doesn't exactly have a lot to do right in the bot lane right now, rather than just keep that turret up. But that they don't exactly need Vi down there for that. They have the wave clear between Lucian and Galio. They have Xerath roaming around as well. That Rift Herald, look, that's a full minute that they did not contest that top side of the map whatsoever. That could have been a free Rift Herald for Vi, and I'm pretty sure that 200 Thieves wasn't going to do Rift Herald if Obsidian Horizon had not leashed it for them in the first place.
That is true, yeah, they only got it because Vi had got it to 1/3 HP left, and they're still focusing bot lane super hard. What I would like to see is the Corki he's playing it mostly safe, but he's been pushed up a lot. Vi could look to get her Xerath back in the game at this point, but not sure they're actually looking to do that.
One thing I've noticed about this Corki a lot, ever since he got that turret, he just roamed bot, and look at this. Now he's trying to roam top. He's trying to make plays around the map, try to get those side turrets to fall, and that's exactly what he's doing right here.
And he was able to get that body block on the Scion ult, so they kept him right there. He did get a return kill. Oh, now bot lane, they're trying to get that back in. Vi ulted on the Xayah, got him, and now they're chasing down Rakan. And Xerath picks up that kill. He made a nice little roam as well. So they could be looking to get the bot turret here. I would have liked to seen Corki stay top and get that turret along with Skarner, but looks like they're just happy with what they got.
I completely agree with you. I think that killing Scion right there, that would have been a really good chance to get that top turret to fall, because there's no more turret plating, so the defense of those outer turrets is definitely fallen a lot. And they just killed the Scion. Sure, they didn't have Poppy, but you had Skarner, you had Corki up there. There's no dragon to contest in the bottom lane right now, so you don't have to rush getting down to bot side. And after the Xayah and the Rakan got dove and they lost the fight in the bot lane right there, that bot turret was kind of a lost cause. It was probably going to fall anyways. So the least you could do out of that is try to trade and get the top turret as well, because if your bot turret's going to fall, you may as well try to get the top turret. Sion's dead for another 20 seconds. What is recalling really going to do for you?
Exactly. Though one thing that certainly is good to see from Obsidian, they've actually clawed back from a 4K deficit down to only being down 2K gold at the mid-game point here. They have flipped their lanes around, so you want to see they can actually continue to close that gap, or if 200 Thieves is actually going to use this lane swap and actually just push their lead farther and end this game sooner than they planned on.
Yes, what I would really like to see right now is Corki towards the bot lane right now, because he's probably the most mobile on their team. He has teleport, and he's also really quick to get around with his package and his mini package as well. So I do like what they're doing here, sending Corki down there to try to put him in that bot lane. And look at this, Obsidian Horizon, they're not sending anyone down there in the bot lane. And oh boy, I don't know that
turf for free.
Exactly. I'm really glad Corki decided to keep going there, because they see them in the mid lane right now. Poppy spotted Lucian walking back there, spotted Galio and Vi. So, but he's still not backing up right now, as he knows that they're all coming.
Except, but Xerath walked ahead of his teammates, and it could have got ugly there, but now it's turning into a 3v3. It's getting ugly in the bot lane. But as that's happening, the bot lane wants to kill Sion, but Lucian gets suppressed by. Oh my goodness, that got a little ugly down there. Now Galio is still trying to get into the middle of his team comp. Xerath is on the wrong side of the map getting chased down, but Galio's got him backed up. Vi's walking in now. I'm not sure if these teams really know who they want to kill these fights. Xerath is still on the wrong side though.
Yes, both of the teams' focuses are completely split up, but it looks like one has fallen and one falls. It's a domino effect, and the rest of your team tries to collapse, and that failed as well. So that is going to be a 3-for-0 trade in favor of 200 Thieves.
Exactly. They did the right decision by wanting to collapse down towards bot lane and stop Corki from pushing, but they walked down at 3 separate directions. And so when Skarner was able to walk in between them, he was perfectly backed up by Corki, and they were able to control that fight, as chaotic as it was.
Yes, and that fight was huge for them. Not only did they get a 3-for-0 trade, they were able to pick up that Infernal Drake, and now that they have no one on that side of the map to contest, Corki is just going to finish off that tower. And look at this whole time, Sion, he's just doing his best to try to clear that wave. He's doing a very good job getting that Xayah really low, clearing the waves. But that tower, it's not going to stay up for long. So what Obsidian Horizon really needs to do here is try to either make something happen in the mid lane or the bot lane like they just did, or they got to try to pick off the Xayah and Rakan, and that looks like that's exactly what they're going to do.
Oh, and actually, as soon as we talk about that, Galio does get up there to save his Sion, and they get the kill on that onto Xayah, but it's they turned it right back onto him, and Vi wants to go in, but she's changing her mind about that. And as soon as
the Corki teleport there was just great. This is what I was talking about earlier. The Poppy, the Corki, we've noticed from the very beginning of this game, they're not afraid to use their teleports to try to put themselves around the map, and they're doing a very great job. I think they're completely out-rotating Obsidian Horizon here, as you see the culling and the Xerath ultimate burned here.
Exactly, and now we're starting to form up for the good old ARAM, except we're doing it in top lane at the moment here. Just everybody at one part of the map, except Poppy to change her mind. She's going to push that mid in, try and get as much pressure as she can. And it's kind of sad, as soon as we were giving Obsidian praise about closing the gap, they've now blown it up to be a 6k gold lead in favor of 200 Thieves.
Yeah, well, look, what we saw 5 minutes ago, we saw them win a fight in the bot lane, take that bot turret. It was looking very good for them, because we saw Hyman Buster and Brickburner they opted not to take the top turret when it was available to them, and look at that, it's still there. But that being said, that fight in the bot lane that just happened right now is just completely detrimental to them, because that gold lead that they were finally starting to close just turned right back around. They're losing it again, and they also lost any priority that they had in the bot lane.
Exactly, but here we got Soccer is getting a little crazy, but he realized he has his ult, he got the safety button, so he's not scared to take some fights. Does waste his flash a little bit though, but you got to wonder, is Obsidian going to punish that or not?
Yeah, and right now it just seems like both of these teams, they don't exactly know what they want to do right now. It seems that they have the idea that they want to try to play around this Baron, but when you're trying to play around the Baron, you need to be doing something else at the same time, because look at this. Corki right now, he's doing a very good job at getting that bot priority. He's taking away the camps from the Vi, and I really do think that 200 Thieves is doing a very good job at playing around the map. I think they're playing around the map significantly better than Obsidian Horizon here. We're seeing them deny camps, we're seeing them push waves, chunk down turrets, and like get the priorities in the other lanes away from the Baron, so that Obsidian Horizon has to respond to them. And Obsidian Horizon here, they really got to start being a little bit more proactive and less reactive, because that's what their team comp relies on. They need to be making more proactive plays, because if they're going to be more reactive, they're just going to lose the game.
And as the game continues to drag on, 200 Thieves is happy to do nothing. They can sit here and just push these lanes forever, because as the game length grows, it's just better for them and their comp. The clock is sitting on Obsidian's side to actually make something happen at this point.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. This is what we talked about in Champ Select. The clock is currently on Obsidian's side right now, or it's making them be the ones to make proactive plays. Because if they're just going to sit and wave clear, sure, Xerath may be really, really good for the late game as far as like if he's just going to keep on clearing waves. But as far as a win condition, I don't think that'll be enough, because they have the dive onto the Xerath that they want. They have the Poppy, Skarner, Corki. They're able to get onto that Xerath really, really easily, and it's just going to make them completely irrelevant later on if they don't try to close out this game earlier. Right now, we see Cyan. He's really, really strong right now. Lucian, he's not too far behind Messiah, so what they really got to do, they got to try to pick off Corki down in the spot lane right now. We see that both Cyan and Xerath have TPs right now, so if they're going to try to make a comeback into this game, they need to be sending Cyan into that bot lane right now, which is exactly what he's doing. And then if I were them as well, I would honestly be sending 3 or 4 down there, pick off that Poppy. They have the teleports to get to the Baron if they need to collapse on the Baron after, because they don't have any... Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, so they were going all in for the Skarner there, but Skarner is able to flash out safely. Unfortunately, it is a flash for flash between Galio and the Skarner. Skarner's got the Predators, though, so I don't think Brickburner's too upset about burning his flash there. Galio's probably feeling a little bad.
Yes, no worries. Skarner burning flash, that's more of a engaged loss.
Oh, but Silent got a huge ult from the side, and Galio's pulling it in there, and they are actually executing their comp, but Xayah is just shredding through the middle of it. But 200 Thieves got out really low there, but my goodness, that wombo combo was there. Oh, but then Lucian gets sniped at the very end. That, you hate to see that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. We talked about how they have much more of an engaged comp on the side of Obsidian Horizon, and a much more of a disengaged comp on the side of 200 Thieves, and that's literally what we saw there. We saw Cyan make an amazing...
They're going for a turret dive, though, this lane. They just had the pressure to take that turret, but they actually choose to dive instead, and 200 Thieves just takes it right back.
Well, Poppy's going,
and they don't even lose their turret.
That's amazing. I'm not quite sure what their plan was right there. It appears that they wanted to try to make a little bit more of a dive potential, which that's what you have to do when you're falling this far behind. You got to go for those greedy plays, but at the same time, that turret, it wasn't very healthy. It only had 800 HP left, and when you have Lucian, when you have Xerath, they're going to be doing a lot of damage to that turret. So I really would have liked to see them go for the last couple of hits on the turret before they started completely diving the Poppy, mind you, who's also really hard to dive. And because that turret, it was focusing the wrong player. It wasn't focusing the Cyan who was charging up the Q. It was focusing the Xerath in that play, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And
I didn't see either, but either way, that's, you know, they should have been taking the tower first. I mean, they didn't have their Lucian, but it was just down to 800 HP. And at this point in the game, Xerath, even though he's not an AD carry, his autos still hurt the turret pretty badly.
Another thing to keep in mind is that they already had burnt their ultimates in the previous fight when they were able to pick off, who did they pick off there with the Cyan ultimate?
The Skarner was down.
Skarner? It was Skarner that was picked? Yeah, okay. So they were able to pick off the Skarner, but they committed so much. They committed the Lucian, they committed the Cyanar. They lost all of their engaged.
Oh, Rakan's going in hard at the moment at that Dragon take, and now both 3 for nothing. 200 Thieves is just not letting up on the pedal at this point.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. And let's just take a look at what's going on in the game right now. We see 200 Thieves. There are almost 11,000 gold ahead in 30 minutes right now, and they're not done. They're going to continue sieging for the turrets. They're going to continue. They have the Baron buff at this point, which is worth as much gold as Ace
in to try and save that turret. I'm not sure why he wanted to quite use the ult there, but I guess he wants to try and clear the wave as much as he can. But I don't think that they have enough between the two of them to stop this push.
Yeah, at this point, when they surrender that Baron buff towards the enemy team, they're gonna lose something, whether it's the gold that they lose because of the Baron, or whether they're probably going to lose an outer turret, or maybe even two. So I really would have liked to see Sion kind of bite his tongue there and just hold off his ultimate, because if they're going to try to get back in this game, they're going to need to pick off either the Xayah or the Corki, or maybe even the Skarner again, because we saw his flash burn. They're going to really need to try to pick them off away from these team fights. And that Sion ultimate is one of the best ways to do so, because if Sion's going to ult in, Galio can easily follow up. And burning it right there in the mid lane just to get a little bit of damage and clear out some minions, I'm not sure if that was the best play from him.
The good news is it is a really short cooldown, and we look at it, it's already back off cooldown. That's one of the people who do complain about Sion, is that he can just ult you whenever he wants in the late game. It's less than a minute cooldown, especially with his items. He has almost full cooldown already, so he is ready to use that as much as possible. And at the moment, they'd still have their inhibs and their inner turrets, and they still got the mid-tier turrets in the outer side lanes as well. So if they can keep holding on, one nice thing about a team comp combo is it can always work no matter how far behind you are.
Yes, that is something to definitely keep in mind, is that one fight can completely turn around the game. And if you're going to do it with a team fight, this would be a comp that you would want to do it with, because of the amount of team fight and pick potential that they have. They have the Sion, they have the Vi, the Xerath, the Galio, they have their AD carry with them as well. If they're able to completely turn around that fight, maybe force errors out of 200 Thieves in these team fights to try to make them misplay a little bit, they're going to be able to come back into this game. But they're not going to be able to do that if they keep burning flashes, if they keep burning ultimates where they don't need to be burning them.
And Sion is looking to give that flank again. Good Hit is just kind of feeling out the outside here, trying to find... Oh, he just blast planted right into the middle of 4 of them. That's so unfortunate. But Galio's here to save him. Actually, he's not dead because he's Sion, and they're actually meatballing this fight major. But then Xayah and Corki
and they're all stacked on top of each other.
Exactly. That is what Xayah wants. She wants the enemy to be grouped up, and she just wants to throw those feathers through everybody. They clean that up, and they're probably going to try and end the game right now.
Sion falls. Xerath walking away with under 100 HP. He's going towards base right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to end here. The timers are still pretty low. Baron buff has worn off. I do believe that Xerath has the amount of wave clear to clear it if he wants to, as Skarner does not have ultimate, and they don't have any engage abilities besides the Poppy Flash that they need.
And Xerath is going for poke right now. He's not trying to clear the minions, so they are able to be into this game for round 1. So 200 Thieves is going to be up 1-0.
Yes, well played by 200 Thieves in that game. We talked about earlier how it was up to Obsidian Horizon if they wanted to end the game early or not, and they were, unfortunately for them, they were not able to play their team comp to their strengths. There was a lot that I think they could have done better in that game, and I hope that they're going to talk about it between games, because I do think that if they're going to go for a composition like that again, they really just need to tighten up on the loose ends as far as being at the right side of the map at the wrong time, not forcing objectives and forcing dives that you don't need to take. And I think if they really try to work on those two things mainly, they could try to turn the series around.
Certainly, it's just one game down, so they might be able to take some moments to think about what they did wrong and what they did right, and what they want to play around for the next game, and see if they want to turn this around. The comp itself wasn't bad; they just didn't play to it. And it's one of those things: if you drop the comp that needs to execute sooner, and you don't do that, then you end up in a situation that just happened to them.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. So we will be right back after a few minutes break, and then we will bring you the pick ban for Game 2 of the series, 200 Thieves and Obsidian Horizon. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back. We are here and with Rampage Open Week 1, Game 2. We have 200 Thieves versus Obsidian Horizon. We had an action-packed Game 1 with 200 Thieves taking the W in the first game. And now it's going to be up to Obsidian Horizon to try to turn this series around, try to get that reverse sweep.
Yeah, and you know, hopefully Obsidian can turn around after that first game, but 200 Thieves did step up huge, and they executed their late game comp in the mid game and just kind of completely dominated the first game. So it's going to be interesting to see how the two teams adjust into the game 2.
Yes, as we saw in the previous game, we saw both teams go for more of a later comp, with 200 Thieves going for a subtly later team composition, whereas Obsidian Horizon, they really wanted to go for more of a mid-game engaged composition, and unfortunately, they weren't able to prevail in that. And what I really would have liked to see Obsidian Horizon do, I would have really liked to see them try to be a little bit more aggressive in the early game. We saw Vi in that game. She had a lot of power farming going on, as far as she would clear her top jungle and then clear her top jungle or her bot jungle and then recall and then just continue, and didn't really do much on the map until level 6, which I can kind of understand. But when you have a Xerath in the mid lane against a Corki, when you have a Sion in the top lane against a Poppy, and as well as a much more aggressive lane in the bottom lane, I really would have liked to see her try to maybe go for some of her camps, get that level 3, and then contesting those Scuttle Crabs, pushing for those invades, denying Skarner those camps early on, completely taking him out of the game, because the Skarner can't farm his camps, can't gank lanes. And when you're Vi and you have the priority in the mid lane, and you have the priority in the silence as well, that's really what you want to do. So I'm really interested to see if Dragons Only is going to try something different this time.
Yeah, and he does seem to be going on the Jarvan here this time, which I believe is his most played jungler on his account. So it looks like something he should be very comfortable on, and it's another proactive level 2, level 3 jungler that I want to make things happen for my laners. Some other change we've noticed is, even though 200 Thieves kind of stomped them, they do not want the Obsidian to have that Galio again. And then obviously Obsidian did ban that Skarner. They do not want to deal with that suppression again.
Yes, I do think that if Obsidian Horizon had a way back into that game, that Galio was the best way. And we saw that last fight in the top side of the jungle where Galio dove in on top of the sign and tried to turn that fight around. They were a little bit scared for a little bit, even though they were able to end the fight off that 200 Thieves. 200 Thieves was really, really close to getting wiped, and all it would have took was one of them to fall, and that chain of dominoes would have set in, and the rest of them would have fallen, and that would have been a way back in for Obsidian Horizon. That being said, 200 Thieves recognize that. They banned Galio round 1. Obsidian Horizon banning the Skarner. It appears that they aren't really comfortable playing into that farming late game jungler, so they're just going to send that away as well as continuing to take away Vladimir away from 200 Thieves.
And one thing I do like to see here is that the Rek'Sai is coming out for 200 Thieves, so this time they're going to go for the proactive to match the Jarvan on their side. Rek'Sai did just get some quality of life changes recently that have made her a whole lot stronger, and changes to her ult. You cannot dodge that ult anymore. If she got you in her sights, she's going to come at you, and it has a large AD buff on it with an execution damage on it. So if she gets onto you, you're going down, and she could match Jarvan easily in the jungle as long as he can't get his knockup off first.
Yes, Rek'Sai is another one of these champions alongside Skarner, where they're starting to get these quality of life buffs as well as these stat buffs as well. We see Rek'Sai, who went from never being played a couple of patches ago to being S+ tier right now. She's just absolutely phenomenal. She's really good at getting vision control for your team with her passive, as well as the fact that she's able to completely win skirmish fights as well. She's got continuous knockups in team fights, and as you mentioned, that ultimate quality of life change is incredible. Not only can you not flash the damage anymore, but it's a lot stronger as well. So before, if you were able to time it correctly, as soon as she would burrow, as she's jumping out at you, you were able to flash away or like dash away before she reached you to avoid the damage. Now, if she ultimates you, you're guaranteed taking the damage. That is not happening. You're not getting out of that one. The only thing you can do is flash away from after she jumps out, so that she does not follow you to where you flash to. That's the only like kind of skill thing that you got there to try to play around it. But once she ults, you're taking the damage. If you're low, you got to find a heal. You have to find something, because that's part of why she's so good right now. It's just her execute, her gank potential. She's just, her kit is so well rounded right now. There's really no wonder why she's S+ tier.
Indeed, and a good hit is going on to Nautilus. This is actually an older pick of his, I believe. He's been a longtime member of Risen Esports, and so his presence in the top lane can be highly valued. We see that in the bans, banning both Darius and Garen. Those are some respecting the enemy top laner bans there, but his Nautilus is actually going to come out here, and they're going to take Poppy against it. So it's going to kind of be a battle between, you know, the experience that Obsidian hopefully has, hopefully will pay out, or will the young blood like Hyman Buster just come out again and destroy him on his Nico, which he's a very big fan of.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Nico is a little bit of a funny champion. Recently, when she came out, at least, she was both a mid laner and a jungler, very good at both, and then she got some nerfs to her entire kit, basically, kind of putting her out of the scene for a patch or two, and now, the previous patch, not the one we're in right now, she got some significant buffs to her W, which is, for those of you who don't know, is her on-hit passive damage, and that's part of why she sort of popped up both in the top lane and the bottom lane as an AD on-hit champion, building Rage Blade, Orc, that kind of thing, and sorry, it was so extreme and so extremely good that Riot had to hotfix her multiple times, and this patch she's still seen basically in every role right now, including support, so she's just really one of those flexible champions. I would have liked to see 200 Thieves pick it up earlier in the draft if they weren't trying to really prioritize the pick at all, because they're able, if their team is able to play it, like as far as like top lane, bottom lane, mid lane, you know, that pick literally could have went anywhere, and they could have baited Obsidian Horizon into picking something that they thought would be countering Nico, when in fact it would be going somewhere else.
Definitely. It is definitely an interesting order of drafts, but they did, you know, maybe they have the reason for it. They did say their last pick for Poppy to counter the Nautilus. So, interesting amount of focus going on to the top lane, when there wasn't very much top lane focus in the actual gameplay in the previous game. So I guess they just want both their top laners to be as comfortable as possible, so then they can actually put most of their brawling into the bottom half of the map.
Yes, as we mentioned before, we saw Dragons only struggle a little bit with the aggressive junglers as far as counter jungling the enemy jungler when they're on the wrong side of the map, as well as try to punish lanes for being overextended early and try to get those early snowballs going for the lanes that they really wanted to. So I'm really interested to see. I think that if Obsidian Horizon is going to turn the series around, Dragons only really has to try to play his jungle macro a little bit better as far as taking objectives at the right time, not forcing these objectives, not forcing these dives, and really trying to punish the jungle early. Because Rek'Sai, sure, she's really, really strong right now, but she's not really strong until she gets her first item and she gets her ultimate as well, because pre-6 Rek'Sai, it's not very good compared to Jarvan. I think Jarvan with the Zillion, the Corki, and the Sivir, like also, we see that they definitely have the pushing priority in both mid lane and the side lanes as well. So this is a really good comp for Obsidian Horizon if they really want to try to play off this Jarvan, because they can completely take Rek'Sai out of the game if Jarvan's able to out macro in the jungle.
Definitely. 200 Thieves has put themselves in a... Their team fight is definitely not quite as strong as it was in the previous game. Obsidian still has a pretty easy to execute team fight. They have some very simple press R, kill enemy kind of buttons, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can execute this time around.
Right, and looking at this as well, both of these teams have a pretty even late game. We see on 200 Thieves, yes, they have the Kai'Sa, they have the Alistar to back up that Kai'Sa as well in the Poppy. Nico and Rek'Sai also really good into the late game, but on Obsidian Horizon as well, they have that Zillion, they have the Corki and the Sivir as well. So both of these teams, they're sharing really similar comps, to be quite honest with you. They have the safety for their carries with the Alistar, the Poppy, and for 200 Thieves, and they have the same thing going over for Obsidian Horizon with the Zillion and the Nautilus. So both teams sharing very similar win conditions here. It's just going to be a matter of which team can play better. So that being said, as we wait for this last minute of the spectator delay to finish, we will be right back. Do not go anywhere. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome back, everybody, to Week 1, Game 2 of the Rampage Open League in Risen Esports. I am Frez, and I am joined here along with my great co-caster. Why don't you introduce yourself once again?
Hey, it's Goldline here again to do my best to give you guys the play-by-play.
Yes, absolutely. We had incredible Game 1. We saw 200 Thieves, definitely playing a lot better than 100 Thieves right now. They were able to actually win a game and take over game number 1, getting the first W of the season in Rampage Open League. And now they're going to try to wrap up the series against, I almost said Ultra Instinct, which is the last team I casted, but Obsidian, Horizon. And I wonder what's really going to go on here, because we talked earlier in Champ Select how both teams have very similar win conditions as far as being a little bit more of a wave clear late game comp, because we see the wave clear on the side of Obsidian Horizon. They got the Zillion, they got the server. They're able to stall this game out as long as they want, as well as the Nico and the Rek'Sai as well, being able to clear those waves fairly well. So it's going to really be a matter of the fact of which team is going to be able to play better. But something I really would like to keep in mind is I think it's going to come down to this jungle matchup, because we see J4 is going to be a little bit better at being aggressive early on as far as taking over like these, as far as punishing the Rek'Sai early whenever they see they're on the wrong side of the map, being able to get better ganks off early pre-6. So if J4 is able to really out macro this Rek'Sai, I think that they have a chance to win this game. But if this J4 does not punish the Rek'Sai early, they're going to have a really, really rough time playing this game. And something that we mentioned earlier while we were alluding to the game were the Nautilus changes this patch. Why don't you get into that?
The Nautilus changes this patch is going to make a lot of Nautilus's paper happy, because he's actually tanky again. They buffed his base armor, so he's no longer one of the lowest tanks for the base armor, so he just starts off happier. And also his passive, the cooldown on how fast he can stun people, has been reduced to 6 seconds. It's almost less than half of what it used to be. So he can stun people a lot more than he used to, and he can not die while doing it. So he's going to be very happy.
Yes, so you would imagine that this would be very, very good, especially towards top lane Nautilus, because as far as the passive cooldown being nerfed significantly, you're not really going to be stunning a lot of people in bot lane because of the range difference there between you and the enemy AD carry. But in top lane, you're going to be face-to-face with the enemy top laner a lot more often, especially in melee matchups. So that buff to him is absolutely huge, especially when you take it with Aftershock. And look at this.
And Jarvan says, nope, I'm not doing this again. He just cleans up Rek'Sai, catches her in his river, and he's like, I am taking your life and the scuttle.
That's so greedy from Brickburner. I don't understand why you would try to contest the top scuttle crab after, number 1, not having level 3, and number 2, not having red buff. Red buff is absolutely huge for contesting the first scuttle crabs, because if you don't have that red buff, that's so much DPS and slowing that you're gonna lose on if you're not going to. Especially we see that Rek'Sai starting blue, Jarvan most likely starting red, if they didn't already notice by the fact that bot lane got there late. So you would assume that J4 would probably be up there if you're gonna go and rush that top scuttle crab. So he's most likely gonna have red buff, and you lose that fight early on. So I really don't understand why Brickburner would try to risk the scuttle crab. I really would have liked to see better pathing there from Brickburner. I liked the blue wolves. If I were him, I probably would have cleared his chickens, then his red buff, then his top Krugs as well, because I don't think he's able to contest the scuttle crab early on against J4.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a bit of a false confidence from the first game. You know, he thought, that Dragons was going to play the game super safe and not try and interrupt anything he did. And so, but as I'm saying that, my goodness, the Nautilus just says, nope, welcome to my patch at this point, Poppy, and just slaps her down in top lane.
And she gets kills without even flashing. That just goes to show you how significant these top lane Nautilus buffs is. You know what? I might have to abuse this in solo queue right now, because I'm not sure how good it is, but based on the performance so far, we see these traits that Nautilus has with that corrupting potion. He's just absolutely stomping her, and Poppy's gonna TP here into a huge wave. I really would have liked to see Nautilus try to punish her to that, maybe like stun her immediately in it. He's got the vision control in the river as well. So it's really just going to be going back and forth, but I think that once Nautilus gets this back after this wave, he's going to be able to really start snowballing that lane.
Yeah, definitely a questionable TP there. He wasn't shoving the wave yet, and it was on his side of the lane, so Poppy could have just walked back to lane at that point, but I guess he's wanted to get back to lane as soon as possible to see if she can, you know, try and salvage something back out of the lane after getting embarrassed by the Nautilus.
Yes, I definitely agree with you. I'm not sure if that TP was 200 IQ or if it was more of a forehead moment. Personally, I think it was more of a forehead moment right there. If Rek'Sai was going to try to make a play on the Nautilus, since they knew that Nautilus still hasn't backed yet, so that's when he would be his weakest, sure, maybe TPing there would be fine, because we saw Rek'Sai on the Krugs up there while it was going on, but Rek'Sai, unfortunately, did not try to make a play into the top lane, so teleporting up there, probably not the best idea, considering that Nautilus had the bigger wave, and on top of that, he was pushing it towards the tower, not quite there yet, more in the middle of the lane. So if Poppy were to walk up there, she probably would have missed at most 1 or 2 CS, which means that it's not really worth your time for teleporting, as it would have been much better for maybe making a play into the bot lane.
And Rek'Sai is definitely trying to make some. They're trying to put around bot lane again, but this time Dragons Only is playing around the bot lane as well. He does not want to have the same thing happen that happened in game 1. He's gonna try and mash his Rek'Sai on each part of the map. He's not giving anything for free. And he does already have his red smite, so I kind of want him to be a little more active in looking for that. Meanwhile, on top lane, Nautilus does not care about Poppy being in his lane. He is just going to keep on slapping her around.
Monka TOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's honestly what's going on right now. This Nautilus is just completely taking Poppy out of this game. Surprisingly enough, Poppy is actually matching his CS and doing better. So, although good hit is actually getting much more better trades on Soccer Man, he's actually not really getting much of an advantage aside from that first blood, because Poppy's actually being able to maintain the CS.
Cordy is going in and forces the flash out of Zillion, and Zillion's going to go down. That was actually a really good headbutt pulverize out of Cordy mains, but yeah. A little slow reactions out of Zillion also.
Yeah, Zillion, he did flash out, but I think he was a little bit panicking there. I think he was a little bit nervous. We noticed that as soon as he flashed out, he instantly started to path a little bit back in. I think that was much more of a mistake. I don't think he meant to go back in, try to get that auto attack on the Alistair there. I'm pretty sure he just wanted to get out. A little bit of a misplay there, but that being said, they're still doing really good. As around the rest of the map, we see Corky matching Zaya, the Nico and the CS as well, and Nautilus and Jarvan both doing very well in their respective lanes as well. So not too much of a loss there. However, that being said, 200 Thieves is going to pick up the first dragon in the game, which is the Earth Dragon.
Yeah, that is a really good one. A really good Drake that you want to have for Kai'Sa, because when it gets to these mid games and Kai'Sa starts hitting on these dragons and these turrets and possibly the Baron at some point, she's gonna burn that down a lot faster than you want it to.
Yes, I do think Earth Dragon is very good as far as map control in the game. I think that as far as map control, having Air Drake and having Earth Drake are probably the two ones that you want the most. I do think Air Drake is very underrated just because of the fact they're able to get these. If you're going for more of like a rotational comp, split push comp, you're able to rotate between lanes in your jungle camps a lot more, make it so that you're able to get a lot more gold per minute, and you're making a lot more plays around the map. And Earth Drake is also very, very good because you're going to be able to get the early damage on these turrets as well with the plating, as well as later on. Because
Corky wants to go in hard on Nico, but Jarvan wasn't quite there yet, so they do absolutely nothing to Hyman Buster. He's just going to be fine in this mid lane still. And he's going for a... We're wondering what build he's going to go with, but he's kind of going for a middle of the ground mage build right now with going towards that the gun belt.
Yeah, as we see that, and it looks like Nautilus is opting to go for the early Abyssal Mask in the top lane. I do respect that a little bit. I think that him having that, because he's going to be in close quarters with a lot of the enemy champions during these team fights, is going to be very good. But what? Hold on a second. Hold the phone, Dave. We got some action going on in the bot lane right now.
Yep, Zillion had to ult himself. You never want to see that. And he is kind of previously. He stopped and autoed and got him. He's gonna pay the price for it. And meanwhile, on top lane, Dragons was trying to make a play happen for his Nautilus, but Poppy just booted him right out to the Rek'Sai, and Rek'Sai ulted. You can't flash away from that, and he goes down. Nautilus does get a return kill. Poppy stuns him right into the wall, and so it is gonna be a 1-for-1 trade up there. But Jarvan does burn his flash for that. And actually, Poppy might be going down. She started fighting 1 second too long, and now Poppy the mid laners are here.
Flash early.
And now Nautilus is thinking, but Nautilus is too tanky to deal with their stuff. So, oh, but Poppy gets shielded up, and now they go down. Nautilus flashes just barely gets out. Nico's barely living, and now Corky wants to get a kill on there, but he's gonna get it with the final rocket. My goodness, that is a good set of trades probably for Obsidian Gaming there.
Yes, well played, both teams around. I do think that Poppy could have got out of that. We saw her kind of burn her flash early on the fight when Rek'Sai ended up getting killed towards the top lane. I do think that that flash in was a little bit unnecessary, as Rek'Sai was already dead, in that the flash E on Poppy kind of was irrelevant, as it didn't really do much aside from stun Nautilus for a second. So I think that flash would have been a lot better, as all she had to do was try to disengage that fight and flash that wall to get back towards her turret. So that being said, not only would she have lived right there, but the Nico also would have lived right there, because they wouldn't have taken that fight. So I do think that was a little bit of a misplay that could bite them in the butt later on.
Exactly. So we want to see what they actually want to do at this point, because now we're kind of going back to a lull. And as soon as we said that, Zillion's is ganking mid lane, and they're trying to actually get Nico while her flash is down. Not going to quite get her, but they do get her down super low while they try and push.
Yes, and now what I would really like to see from both of these teams is try to get one of these outer turrets to fall. The plating is going to be falling soon, so in the meantime, right now what I would really like to see is a lot more rotations around the map. Try to get these kills early on, maybe like make a play down in the bottom lane, try to maybe pick off Sivir, Zillion, or maybe vice versa with Jarvan right here walking towards the bot lane right now, trying to pick off the Kai'Sa, because all it's going to take is one of those kills, and they're going to be able to get the early plating, get the early gold that they need to start getting their snowball going.
Yeah, and actually, despite all these kills going down, 200 Thieves is still up just about 500 gold, so it is very close. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, the between these two comps, you know, the gold being about the same is okay. Not really one team benefits from that, but you know, it is starting to slowly creeps Obsidian's way. I mean, 200 Thieves' way, despite not having the kills. And as we get some of the spectator stuff sorted out here, we're just going to keep seeing Nautilus continue to kind of hit Poppy around, but Poppy isn't letting that stop her farm. She is staying ahead in that category. Meanwhile, in bot lane, Kai'Sa is starting to kind of slowly weak out a small bit of a lead here, but both junglers are actually working their way down here. They both want to have a big brawl down here, it looks like. So it's going to be who can get the jump first.
Yes. I really would like to see Rek'Sai try to make this play here. I think this play is absolutely huge for them, as they're going to try to be able to make a play. Like, Rek'Sai kind of taking her time, but now she's going to come in.
I say they rezzing Jarvan there, but that was a bit of miscommunication. Both Zillion and Sivir backed off right as Jarvan went for the Demacia dunk, and it didn't go out very well for him. But Poppy TP's down. I'm not really sure she really needed TP for that. Nautilus is going to get the free push in the top lane, and he does have the slipping my brain right now, but he's going to be taking down the turrets faster with the Resolve tree. But also 200 Thieves is going to be getting another dragon out of this.
Yes, that being said, the Nautilus did have the cannon wave up there, and he's already gotten 2 platings off of that turret. He's still going. Poppy's still sitting in the bot lane right now, so he's just going to keep whacking off on this turret. Sure, red team ended up picking up an air drake. That might be really good later on, but time will tell if it is worth this top turret right now, because look at this. Good hit is he's still going off. The next wave is coming. He got 2 full platings off it, almost a third. That's tons of gold in map pressure in the top lane right now. Turret plating has just fallen, so now that he was able to get that extra gold that he wouldn't have able to get otherwise, as now that gold right there is going to help him really try to take over this top lane, finish off that turret, because that's otherwise, like, that's gold that he wouldn't have had until that turret would have fell.
Yeah, and you never heard of the split push Nautilus before, but I mean, if the game gets to it, he could possibly start beating Poppy in these 1v1 fights with, even though you don't normally see tanks doing the split pushing in games, if one tank is able to easily beat the other one, that can have a huge effect as the game goes along.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And something that I really do want to touch up on right now is we noticed... Oh, hang on a second. We got a little bit of fighting going on in the mid lane.
Yeah, these two are living scrapping at in the mid lane there. They're just constantly poking each other, trying to find just a little bit of chink in each other's armor, trying to see if they can go in for an all in there, because both these champions are really good when they decide to commit all the way there, but they don't have to either. And as we say that, actually, Nautilus is going in again. He's got Poppy down to halfway health. He has a 2-level lead on this Poppy, so he is actually just kind of wrecking her right now. So you actually kind of want to see if they actually want to play around this or not, but because right now Rek'Sai is actually taking over the blue side jungle of the blue side team.
Yes, this just goes to show you how well this Poppy has been CSing when she's in lane, because the level advantage shows that Nautilus has been in lane a lot more often than Poppy has, as Poppy's been roaming bot, teleporting for plays down there, as well as actually being dead coming back from base. But if you look at the CS right now, it's about the same. We see 92 to 90 right now in favor of Nautilus, but that being said, Poppy does have a little bit more minions there, so it's precisely even right now. And the fact that she was that much XP down from the Nautilus just goes to show you that she's being able to farm just as many minions as Nautilus without being in the lane just as often. So that just goes to show you that Nautilus is more on the just push, don't worry about last hitting, he's just auto sending in the waves, which I think is a little bit risky. You're not really getting as much gold as you can be. You can still definitely outpush the Poppy, but I really would like to try to see him, if this game goes to a game 3, I'd really like to see him try to get his CSing game up to par, try to less hit as many minions, because he could theoretically be at like 140, 150 CS right now, because he's constantly in that top lane.
Oh, they're going all in for the 2v2. Oh, that Kai'Sa had no fear going in there, but they're trying not to kill Server, but she does end up going down with the Zillion passive still on her, or the Zillion ult, and so she doesn't quite go down here, but bot lane have to commit very little to actually burn a lot out of the Obsidian bot lane.
Yes, we see 200 Thieves here. Yes, they burn their ultimates, but at the end of the day, that's not too much to worry. They still have just as much kill potential if they want to try to make a play there as they would have otherwise. But what I would really like to see here is, now that Zillion ulti is not there, and that the flashes are still down for a little bit longer, I'd really like to try to see Rek'Sai make a play here, because all it's going to take here is Alistar to just pulverize him, knock him up, and then...
Oh my goodness, the Corki just baited that ult straight out of Nico and then flashed right out of it, but she hits him with that buff snare and she walks away clean. Now, while Nautilus isn't, up in the CS category, he did get those plates for the bonus gold, and he was finally able to work on his advantage and take down that first turret to get his team some gold, and hopefully open up this mapping so he can be the first at team fights.
Yes, and like we mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more of a slower game. Both of these teams, they kind of just want to scale up. They have their late game AD carries with the potentially Nico, but not anymore, really, because we see that he's going the AP route. But with the Kai'Sa, the Corki, the Silver, they try to play for later, but hang on a second. So in the mid lane right now, we got a fight that's just not ending.
I was gonna say, and Nautilus actually just, as we were just talking about there, Nautilus was able to be the first one to walk down there, so he had the priority in that team fight, and he just knocks up both Poppy and Rek'Sai and lets Jarvan clean up the kill there.
Yes, that top turret was actually huge, because both Nautilus and Poppy have very similar roles in this game. Both of them want to try to participate in as many team fights as they can together, and both of them as well wanted to try to get that top turret down. And hang on a second.
In the bot lane, they're still just duking it out there. They both trade ultimates again for the Zillion ult and the Kai'Sa ult. She was able to jump in there and take him down, but the quick fingers on Sorax is able to say, I live to be another day.
Yes, as we mentioned before, though, like both of these teams, they definitely want to try to take the time. That's exactly what they're seeing. Well, that's exactly what we are seeing right now. Only one turret has fallen. 6-4 as far as kills, so respectable. Like not too many aggressive plays, or as many aggressive plays as we saw last time.
Speaking of which, you can't flash away from the Rek'Sai ult. He makes that mistake a second time there. I'm not sure if he knows about those changes or not. So I was getting ready to say that the gold had just gotten back to even, but 200 Thieves grabbed a small bit of gold for themselves there. But now Rek'Sai is caught in the enemy jungle without any friends.
Yes, it looks like Rek'Sai is going to fall here. He did his job. He got the J4. Unfortunately, he is going to end up falling there. But Dragons only. Once again, we talked about at the beginning of this game that we really wanted to see him try to punish the Rek'Sai, maybe take a lot of his camps, force bad fights. He did a good job at that in the first couple minutes of the game when he was able to take him off the Scuttle Crab and get that early kill there, and not only kill him, but take the Scuttle Crab as well. But he didn't really do anything with it. After he did that, he kind of just went back into his jungle, kind of just like disappeared for a while until level 6. And I really would have liked to see him try to make a lot more plays than he did. I'm not saying he didn't make any plays, but I think that if he was a little bit more aggressive with his lead, especially, if he was able to do something there, this game could be looking a lot different. Yes, they have a lead right now, but it's only by 100 gold, and they're down to two dragons as well. And that
looks like they're collapsing on the bot lane here, but Poppy is right behind them, ready to provide her team fight here. And Dragons, he goes golden to try and stay alive as long as possible, but Nico flashes in and gets her ult off at the same time. Jarvan goes down, and so does Nautilus. The rotations, they always seem to have it first, but every single time, 200 Thieves is right behind them and wins the team fight, and they get another Drake. It's kind of starting to look like the first game a little bit.
Yes, we talked about how in first game, how 200 Thieves did an amazing job at out-rotating Obsidian Horizon around the map. They were always responding to fights when they needed to, teleporting to them. They were doing a very good job at being proactive when they needed to be a little bit more reactive, as like the proactive was more on Obsidian Horizon's win condition. So the fact that they're making these proactive plays, they're responding around the map when they need to. They're doing a very, very, very good job at out-rotating them, and that's kind of like what this Air Drake does to you. Sure, it's kind of a meme a little bit, because obviously you'd rather have an Infernal Drake or a Mountain Drake instead of an Air Drake, but an Air Drake still has its use. They're still rotating around the map a lot better than Obsidian Horizon, and it's showing. So as long as they keep doing what they're doing as far as rotations around the map, this gold lead that Obsidian Horizon had, which no longer exists, means absolutely nothing, because they're doing a great job playing around the map. I'd really like to see them try to kind of switch up their top and their bot lane right now, as I think that it's a little bit time for Kaisa and Alistar to leave bot lane and just send Poppy down there, because we see Baron up right now. If they can get that lane up there, it looks like Poppy's doing a great job of getting that turret right now.
Oh yeah, Poppy...
Sorry, go
ahead. They're actually going to go, so they're actually going in hard on Poppy, trying to punish her some more, but you know, like you were just saying there, despite all the work they've been putting into this Poppy, she's doing quite fine, and she's going to just kick them right out of that circle. She's claimed it as her own, and she's going to walk safely away from this.
Well, we have Nico and Corki both walking up river right now.
Exactly. It looks like they were looking to fight, but this time they decided that, you know, the numbers game wasn't quite in their favor enough for them to want to take the fight here.
Yep, gentleman's agreement. Both teams are both going to back off. And
they're actually going back in bot lane again, but Zillion with the quick fingers keeps himself alive, but you know, he keeps having to burn that on himself. But as I say that, Nico got hooked and she's trying to ult her, but I don't think she can get out this time. Dragons does pick up that kill onto Nico. And then now it looks like Rek'Sai's want to make a play bot lane, because Zillion's ult is down, so she's one to collapse it on that. And let's see, she got the knock onto him, but it's looks like they're gonna let them walk away and just be happy with the turret.
Yep, absolutely. And now what we saw early on was Obsidian Horizon having a gold lead, having that map lead. They managed to get the first turret into the top lane, but they didn't really do much off it. And look at this.
Yep, they caught Rek'Sai in the jungle, and the Nautilus is slapping people around again. He's making use of that new passive, and they're in deep. Kaisa ults out of there. The bombs are hitting down around. They're getting super low. The Poppy's about to go down.
Nautilus Kaisa
goes down. They all go down. That was a weird invade. They have no vision there. They have one pink or one red in the red buff area, but that's all the vision they have.
That's not exactly getting you any vision. Because, sure, you have a pink on red buff. Guess what? Red buff's not up. Great! Okay, what are we going to do with that? Because they have no actual vision of the jungle itself. They only have vision of the red pit, and the only time that vision in the pit is going to matter if someone's actually fighting the red buff, which isn't going to be happening for a while. Because, as you can see, it's very, very easily for Obsidian Horizon to path around that and just walk around it, stay out of vision. So it's really interesting to wonder why they were trying to force the fight into the jungle, and this is kind of what bit Obsidian Horizon's ass, in pardon my language, that's kind of what bit them in the butt in the first game, is because they were forcing so many bad fights, and they were trying to make so many things happen that they didn't need to happen. So
and this is another case where in this time where they had the lead, they're just not Like in the first game, they had the lead and they're happy to sit on. This time they had the lead and they're just looking to close it out a little too hard. I mean, thankfully they were enough ahead that it doesn't actually punish them that much. They just go right back to being dead even. But, you know, this Nautilus, who's gone for the sword boots build to really start slapping people around, he's really fed right now, and I'm not sure the Poppy can keep up with him. It just continues to be like this. And now both teams are just kind of dancing around the mid lane, going for the old-fashioned what they want to do. No team wants to Baron quite yet, it seems like, so they're just kind of happy sending their tanks off to the sideline while the 4 main group just kind of stack around, look for each other, and see who missteps first. The Sivir is always going to be happy with something like that. She's just going to sit here and wave clear for days. One thing we do want to mention, Nico has some wave clear, but there's way more wave clear on Obsidian's side, so if there's no Baron being used, they can sit there and just wave clear for days until 200 Thieves actually decides to do something. And now both teams are posturing for this Drake. They do want to get the 4th Drake going on. It's going to be a 3rd mountain, and you do not want to get out over the Kaisa. Nautilus is teleporting in there. Poppy is already here. She didn't have to teleport in there, and they're... Oh, Rek'Sai goes golden. Brick, I don't think he's going to get out of there. Brick does go down. Poppy tries to knock out the other members, and that's not going to happen for them. She is in the middle of the fight, so is Nautilus. But Nico flashes in with her ult, gets 3 of them, and that does take down the Zillion. Bazillion does give the ult off to Nautilus. Sivir is now fighting the Dragon 1v1. Jarvan goes for the dunk and almost gets killed. Kaisa is just popping off. She does not care about the tanks. And she just barely survives that, but does take down the Nautilus. And Corki is just the only one alive. And, oh, actually, Sivir's been hiding in the back the whole time, but they are all able to get out. And I think that is going to be the 3rd Drake over to 200 Thieves.
Yes, well, it looked like such a great start to a fight for Obsidian Horizon that they're able to get the early pick on the Rek'Sai. But the longer that fight went on, the better off 200 Thieves was, because that Kaisa was just able to completely go through everyone. And look at this, the fight is still not ending.
They just traded a kill right back over to it. Corki gets 2 of them. Now Sivir can commit to this and burns a flash out of Alistar. That was a little bit weird. You had just gotten so much 200 Thieves. Like, they're starting to look like the 100 Thieves at this point.
Exactly. Now, that being said, we see, if we take a look at the gold right now, we see 43.6k gold towards Obsidian Horizon and 44.4k gold in favor of 200 Thieves. So the gold, there's not really much of a gold lead right now. As far as map, both teams have a mid turret and a side lane turret, with the top lane turret on 200 Thieves being gone and the bottom lane turret of Obsidian Horizon being gone. So I think that as far as map control right now, 200 Thieves have a little bit more of an advantage because they have that.
Oh, there's a fight going in the red side jungle. The Rek'Sai is going super low again. She's going to try and ult to live as long as possible, but Jarvan just takes her down. So now there's no smite going on. I'm not quite sure what 200 Thieves is doing right now, because while they don't have a gold lead right now, they do have 3 Mountain Drakes, and right now they're going to look for this Baron. There is no smite to stop them. Sivir's making her way down there. Corki's here as well. So while they don't have the mountains, those mountains aren't really doing anything. But Alistar gets a double knock on both the marksmen, and Nico's going to flash on there also. Both marksmen go down. Jarvan's about to go down to the Poppy. And then, yeah, as soon as they just had a 4v5 and completely won that. The only one to get away is Zillion, but that's not going to be enough to stop them from taking the Baron with that triple Mountain Drake. Kaisa's going to be very happy about that.
Yes, and look at this. This is why the 3 Mountain Drags are so good in this game. Look how fast they get that Baron off. They're going to be able to rotate out towards top lane right now. I don't think that any of them should be recalling right now. We see the only one alive is Zillion, and realistically, that's not going to be a threat against the full team. Right now, I want to see Rek'Sai leaving his jungle. If he wasn't clearing his camps right now, that easily could be tier 2 in the mid lane right now, as well as the tier 2 in the top lane right now. I really don't understand why they're backing off right now, because these are free objectives that they could be getting with the Baron. Whenever you get a kill around anywhere on the map, you want to try to get something else with it. If you get a kill early on, you maybe just want to take an early drag. Right there, they were able to completely ace, aside from the Zillion, they were able to completely ace Obsidian Horizon there. They got the Baron, but there was still 20 seconds on all of their timers. So that's 20 seconds that you're allowed to do whatever they want. Get some vision down, clear the enemy's vision, get some turrets, it doesn't matter. But recalling is not, and backing off is not what you want to do there, because that's lost time that you could be doing something very, very productive.
Indeed, and maybe they're trying to play a little more cautious after having a few little throws there. But as soon as we were talking about, the game is dead even, and the rec side was down. All of a sudden, it's a 5K gold lead in favor of 200 Thieves. So they might have heard us talking bad about them. They decided we're going to shut these guys up and start playing a little bit better on our side.
Brick Burner getting the freest win of his life. No, but in all honesty though, Gitchers is doing a very, very good job on Kai'Sa right now. She's playing very safe. She's doing a very good job at her positioning. She's taking out the front line of Obsidian Horizon when she needs to be, and going for the back line when she has the opportunity. She's playing this very, very well, and I think she really does need to be mentioned here, because without her playing as well as she is, 200 Thieves would not be in this game right now.
Oh, definitely not. And that's one of those things that one thing 200 Thieves should be really happy about with is in the first game, Hyman Buster was one carrying them. In this game now is Getchers, and so if they have multiple threats while they can have an anchor in the top lane, that's going to give them a lot to play around in these games. Though right now with their Baron buff, they're all just kind of posturing around. This is kind of where that wave clears is kind of affecting them. They don't have very much to reach these turrets, and Sivir can just sit here and wave clear for days. She's got 2 crit items on top of the IE. She's just going to sit here and W them for days.
Yes, but as we look in the bot lane right now, 200 Thieves has 2 waves worth of minions in the bot lane, so that's going to slow push into the turret there. So all they really have to do here is stay in the mid lane, force the Baron in the top and in the mid lane to get to those turrets, while that bot minion wave gets down there, and eventually someone on Obsidian Horizon is going to have to respond to that, otherwise the turret's going to fall, and that's going to be so much XP and minions wasted. So if once that happens and someone responds to it, I think that's when 200 Thieves is going to have to try to make a proactive play. They're going to have to try to pick someone off. That being said, we also see the dragon coming up right now. It's going to be an ocean drag, as there can be no more earth dragons in this game. And this will be the last dragon in this game.
And it's not, it's not the best Drake to have at this point in the game. You normally want this one first instead of to be the last one, but they do just want to take this 5th dragon down, just in case they do need to play around it. They do want to get that Elder Dragon on the map and get that 5 buff dragon possibly later in the game if they can't close this out. One thing I do want to notice is the Nautilus has gone for a wit's end in the top lane, so he's really wanting to hit things really quickly with his anchor. But I mean, he does take it does steal MR from your opponent, so you may be trying to take it down from Poppies to try and boost his 1v1 potential. But at this point in the game, you're not doing that 1v1. You're going to be wanting to be in the middle of the fight, so it's kind of a questionable build.
Yes. Now, I think the Ocean Drake is actually pretty good in this situation. Let me explain why. At this point in the game, it appears that Sivir, Zillion, Corki, they're doing a really good job at clearing these waves, right? And at the same time, they're also doing a great job at poking down 200 Thieves. That Ocean Drake is going to help them stay out longer and being able to siege longer. And because they're going to have that sustain that Obsidian Horizon doesn't have, eventually Obsidian Horizon is going to have to recall before 200 Thieves does, and that's going to be the point where they're going to be able to get these turrets, they're going to be able to make these plays, get some picks. So as we mentioned before, both of these teams really trying to play for the late game. That's really what we see, as we haven't seen any dents made into either bases 33 minutes into the game. This is definitely going to go to full build for both teams, which is why I think the early objective control over the Dragons is really going to try to make 200 Thieves prevail in this game.
I do believe they are going to try and just wait for the Elder at this point there, because as you mentioned, all the inner turrets are still up for both sides. There's almost been no structures taken yet, so there's a lot of gold standing. But even though the gold is only 4k apart, the 5 dragons worth of stats, that's a lot of stats worth of gold. I don't remember what the numbers are off the top of my head, but it's its own weight of gold, basically. So
yeah,
200 Thieves is happy to wait on what they've got going on here. You are starting to wonder though, because with the Sivir, with the Corki, and with the Zillion, they do want to find some. They only got 1 turret off that Baron, so that is they did make sure that Obsidian wasn't able to get that Baron or do anything with their wave clear. But this game is going to be going on for a little longer if they can't find a way to end it.
And this is why getting that tier 2 in the mid lane and the top lane, when they had the other Baron, would have been so beneficial. Because think about it, if they had that much map control in the mid lane and the top lane right now, and if it wasn't even, they would so easily have been able to take the bot turret with the Baron if they sent 5 bot after everyone had respawned, while all of the minions in the top lane started pushing towards the inhibitor turret up there. So that just goes to show you how important every single decision is in the game, especially after you take something like Baron, because if they were able to get those turrets, this game would be looking completely different.
Oh, they're just going straight for the Baron. They're not even gonna wait around and dance for it. Poppy's gonna send the dragons only flying. They're gonna. Poppy goes in, gets only one person with an ult. They are getting super low. Sivir does get picked off. The Nico is super low in the back. Jarvan goes for his dunk.
Rockstar's dying to Baron!
Yeah, they died. Nico's down too. Corki's getting rezzed at this point. Jarvan's going down the back to the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa is still full HP with her GA. She's going to take down the Corki. And so, as soon as it seemed like Nico was, or as soon as they seemed like they had control of Baron, they took it right back, and now Kai'Sa doesn't even need a spy on her side. She's got triple dragons, or triple mountain dragons.
She could honestly solo at this point. She's so strong. She's full build at 35 minutes. She has 3 Earth Drags with her as well. She's just going to completely destroy that. She didn't need Poppy or Alistar. It didn't matter. And this is why 3 Earth Drags is so lethal, because you're able to take all these objectives super quick. Imagine what this Elder Drag in a minute is going to look like. That Kai'Sa is just going to walk over there, if they even need the Elder Drag, basically kill it in 5 seconds, and then you're going to have the power of 6 Earth Drags on your team, which she's just going to be 2-hitting turrets at this point.
Exactly. I don't see there's a way Obsidian can hold this, though. Their best shot at this point is while they still have their turrets, is they cannot give up the Elder. They have to use their team fight potential and actually get onto this Kai'Sa, take it down before she can start putting out all of the damage with her passive and start shredding them. But from what we've seen so far, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that, but they've been getting, these fights have been pretty close despite what the gold separation is.
Yes, and now they have Baron buff right now, so what I would really like to see, I don't think it's worth sending, let's say, Rek'Sai to the top lane. I think what I would really, really like to see, and that they could close this game out right now, is if they send Poppy up there, because they don't have the minion priority up in the top lane right now. I think that if they send Poppy up there, clear that wave, push towards the tier 2 in the top lane right now, she has teleport available to her, so she needs to teleport into a fight that she needs to do, that's going to be available to her. It forces Nautilus and or Corki away from her, because she's going to have the Baron minions, and Nautilus isn't going to be able to clear them as fast because they're Baron minions, and he's a tank, so he just doesn't have the damage available to him. So that's going to be free turrets up there until a fight
they
starts.
are jumping on the Poppy. Poppy's about to send them all flying, though, and then Nico gets a 2-man star. That Jarvan goes for a dunk again, but he goes straight down. Sivir is trying to get rezzed right now. Lost in the middle of the fight. They jump right on the Corki in the back. He goes straight down. They're all focusing Nautilus now. He's super tanky, but he's not enough to take down 5 people on his own. Sivir's trying to dance around the enemy jungle, see if she can get to safety, but I think 200 Thieves is literally going to run it right down the middle and take the game.
I don't think it matters. I think that Sivir just doesn't have enough alone to be able to not only clear the minion waves, but she's going to have to literally 1v5 here. And she's just not going to be able to. She's still in bot lane. She hasn't even started a recall here. 200 Thieves is going to be able to come back in Game 2 and win Game 2, therefore winning the series Week 1 in Rampage Open League.
Yep, 200 Thieves did a pretty good job of closing down both games. They did play to their win conditions, Brega. Kind of threw a little bit in the second game, but nothing that they couldn't handle. They got just a little bit excited, I think, for the first week jitters, but they closed it out smoothly.
I could not agree with you more. I think both teams played well. That being said, both teams definitely have some key areas that they need to be working on, but that's all natural. Like, this is the first week. This might even be the first time that some of these teams have been playing together if they haven't been doing that much practice. So the fact that both of these teams had the communication that they did, I think is very, very good. Both teams played really well, especially in the second game. I think that game was really, really well played by both teams. I think at the same time, both of these teams, they really know what they need to work on. They have kind of clear their heads. If you're Obsidian Horizon right now, they know what they need to work on. They know that they need to be more aggressive with aggressive picks. They know that they need to be working on the rotations a little bit better. At 200 Thieves, I think that they need to also work about not being greedy as far as taking these bad fights, because that was a throw potential. That being said, both teams played well. I think I'm going to let's talk about MVP here. Like, who do you think deserves MVP in this series?
Ooh, it's like that's gonna be a kind of a hard one on that one, because in the second game there, Gitcher popped off super hard, but in the first game, Buster popped off super hard. Brickburner did really good in the first game, had a really bad second game, but his team he's sitting in all chat going better jungler wins no matter what. At the second game there, even he had a rough start in that game, made some weird decisions. Actually, I would actually going to put the MVP on quarter mains. I know we didn't get to talk about him a lot, but on both the Rakan and the Alistar, he had some really sick kiting and engages that just helped to close out these games super hard. Another good one to mention would be the top lane, Soccer Man. Despite being down, or what he should have been down in the second game, he came back just fine. And his Poppy ults were huge in winning the team fights. So both the top lane or the support could be really good candidates for MVP.
Honestly, I think that on 200 Thieves, we could honestly have Highman, Quartermains, and Soccerman, as well as Gitchus as well, because I really do think that both, like almost everyone on their team, could deserve MVP in some way. That being said, I do think I'm going to have to go with Soccerman here. Let me tell you why. Soccerman, both in game 1 and game 2 on Poppy, completely out macroed the enemy top laner as far as being in the right place at the right time, teleporting to fights that she needed to TP to, therefore like winning objectives, winning dragons, winning bot lane turrets, winning these fights, ulting away the jungler off these objectives and taking out key people out of these team fights. I honestly think that the play from Poppy was nearly flawless, aside from maybe first blood in the second game. Honestly, Soccerman did really well. Like, hats off.
He did. You won my vote over. You were able to convince me over to your side there at that side because, yeah, he played solid. His TPs helped bot lane win both games. They were always super clean. He was the first to objectives in every single game. And so you can't – it's one of those things, people flame their top laners for not being in the fights. Poppy was there for every single fight and was able to provide that CC and that peel.
And part of why Kai'Sa was able to pop off so well in game 2, being 13-1-7, by the way, was because of these Poppy teleports, and they were 4-manning bot. And that's why she was able to get so many kills and get those Earth Dragons, because without the Poppy teleports, and even like the roams as well, they weren't going to be able to be as successful as they were. So hats off to Soccerman there.
Most definitely. Some other people that might be worth shutting out there is Kyra, and basically on the losing side there, even though they lost, Kyra, Dusk Edge on their side played pretty well on both the Xerath and the Corki. They tried really hard to put out the damage they need to and hit most of their shots, but the team fights just weren't there for them. So that's going to be one of those things that's kind of a communication thing where you can kind of hope that both teams can clean up what they want to do with both sides. And I'd be excited to see these teams rematch at some point down the road.
Yes, I do think that is going to be very interesting. I think both of these teams have potential for doing very well in the season. It's the very beginning. It's the first week, you know what I mean? So even if there were some errors, I think that they have lots of time to improve on these errors, and both of these teams could be contenders for playoffs. It's hard to tell, but I wouldn't knock any of these teams out just yet.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's always a week 1 thing, so we can always make predictions already, and as much as some of us would love to do that, not quite there yet. We're going to see what these teams do going forward, and see what the other teams that they do, and see how they line up with some of these other teams in the league. And so I'm kind of excited to see 200 Thieves though, and see if this, if they're looking rocky now, and this is only the first game, I'm kind of see how this unit might play together better in future games.
Yes, imagine what they're going to be like 6 weeks from now. They're already communicating and making plays around the map like they've been playing for an entire season. You know what I mean? So I definitely think 200 Thieves has the potential to go all the way. Obsidian Horizon, like I said before, I wouldn't count them out yet. It's first week. They definitely did some great things in that game, but they also have a lot to improve on. That being said, guys, thank you so much for having us in the stream today. It was a blast. Thank you for letting us have the privilege of casting the first game of Rampage Open for you guys. Once again, I'm Frez. Shout out to Caddy as well, our streamer as well. They don't usually get the recognition that they deserve because they're not the ones talking and they're kind of behind the scenes. Caddy did an amazing job this stream. Hats off to him. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Nope, I greatly appreciate getting the dues. I look forward to casting some more games for you guys in the future. I greatly appreciate Frez helping me through my very first one. I think he did a great job walking me through everything.
Yes, man, you did great as well. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you tomorrow for Dominate Week 1.